Huh? Oh, hey. It's me, Meta. Hello. Guess what game I'm going to play? And we got Narcissistic Parents' Behaviors That Cause Deep-Rooted Loneliness by Jerry Wise. Audio. So let's check this out. And I'm going to build and play my game. And, yeah, I hope you enjoy this.
Hey, hi, everybody. I want to talk about how being an adult child of a narcissist and the behavior that we have experienced growing up turns into painful loneliness as a child and as an adult, and give you some pointers and resources about dealing with that. First of all, an adult child or a child of a narcissist, of course, lacks emotional support.
That's bedrock. This is going to be distracting. I can't, I guess that's bedrock. Anyway, okay.
Narcissists are not supportive. Why are they not supportive? Because they're thinking about themselves.
They're assholes.
And they may be abusive, they may be mean, critical, moody, thinking of their image, all of those things which makes for nurturance just not happen. And so as a result, we grow up, the children grow up with a very little self-esteem and have very little emotional resilience. We're not very resilient when we come to, I didn't say we weren't strong, I'm just saying emotionally resilient. There's a difference. I think ACONs are very strong people. They just struggle with what happens from the neck on down, the inside of them. And also we are concerned about having had created in us as a result of this lack of emotional support, unworthiness. Well, if you add a lack of emotional resilience, an unhealthy sense of self, and unworthiness, that's going to make for quite a bit of loneliness for us as children and as adults. Second of all, invisibility and neglect. In narcissistic families, children are invisible and neglected. There may be golden children, there may be mascots, there may be unseen or invisible kids, lost child. There are all kinds of roles, of course, in narcissistic families, but there is still invisibility and neglect.
Yeah, I used to be able to turn invisible when I was little. I mean, you might not have believed me but trust me, I was invisible.
For the inner real child, the inner real person, they're treated as they are a role.
Pretty much.
And so we don't get that very strong being seen and also being nurtured. And what happens? We become invisible and unimportant.
I couldn't actually be seen because I was bending the light and I was actually invisible.
Then what happens? We feel lonely.
Yeah.
Number 3 is emotional manipulation. If you are being emotionally manipulated, which so often narcissists will do to everyone in the family, because everyone must behave in a certain way to be accepted, or at least conditionally accepted by the narcissist. And I do use the word conditionally, because it can always be pulled at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not based on the relationship, it's based on performance.
Yep.
So it's not, I accept you because I love you.
Conditional.
I accept you because you're doing what I want you to do right now.
Right.
And you're behaving the way I want you to behave.
Yep, fair weather.
For me. Now I will give you a little acceptance. So with this emotional manipulation, we end up having lots of self-doubt. And if you have self-doubt, a lot of self-doubt, and I remember having tons of self-doubt, how are you going to connect with other people? How are you not going to feel lonely? And I remember so many times, even when I was in a position of leadership and people were wanting to be friends with me or wanting to be close with me, I couldn't do it because I had too much self-doubt. And I had to keep that image going. And that self-doubt just keeps me locked up in a prison of loneliness.
A
Bank
glass,
of America recently warned
a
its
glass
clients
case of emotion.
accounts are likely to be replaced.
Okay, that's wonderful. Get the fuck off my screen, dude. Fuck. Trying to fucking YouTube.
Then, of course, narcissistic families
Trying to
or
YouTube
parents
over here.
will also have a problem with lack of boundaries. Boundaries are just trampled on. Boundaries are not taught.
Yep.
Boundaries are not respected. And so, if we don't have that going on in the family, guess what I'm going to feel as a kid?
Okay,
Autonomy isn't going to be taught.
Yep.
And individuality isn't going to be taught. And self-differentiation isn't going to be taught or valued. None of these things are going to be valued. And when you don't have autonomy, individuality, or some self-differentiation, you may have a lot of people around you. You may have an audience. You may have some friendships. But oftentimes, we still have a profound loneliness. One of the things I want to stop here and mention real quick, down in the description below, check out the online program, Your New Road to Self. That's a program I have available for you, and there are some perks that go along with that. Building the self, you were never painful. I don't know if you remember Phyllis Diller. If some of you are my age, you might remember who she is.
I'm not your age.
She was a comedian, and she also was a concert pianist. And I won a position to be able to be an opening act for her when she performed. There were a lot of people there. She was pretty well known at the time. She had her own TV show and things like that. Again, I wasn't a celebrity. She was. And I remember sitting up in the audience with her mother, and I didn't know it was her mother, but her mother was mouthing all of her jokes with her. How does she know all these things? And then found out it was her mother. And even in the midst of all of that sort of celebrity, feeling very lonely, feeling very isolated, that even with all of those good vibes, I couldn't kick this feeling of loneliness. When it should have been a great day of success and joy, and I was able to sing and perform and such before celebrity did come on. And so, again, being in a large position, large crowd, having lots of people doesn't mean you're not going to feel lonely. Loneliness is that ache that we feel.
Crazy. Another Oliver Tree reference. Alone in a crowd, right?
About not being connected to other people in a real way. And a lack of boundaries growing up, again, destroys that autonomy, individuality, and self-differentiation. Number 5, a role reversal. So many times in narcissistic homes, there are role reversals where the child becomes the caretaker.
Yep.
The child gets parentified. What's going to happen if you become a parentified or caretaking child? Does that set you up for having age-appropriate friendships and relationships? No. It harms that, is actually what it does. And so we may have trouble developing relationships that are age-appropriate with peers and connecting with others on a deeper level. Because we're spending all this time being an adult for an adult. And so, again, loneliness occurs. We're not free to have those kind of relationships. Number 6, fear of abandonment. Narcissistic parents may actively discourage or undermine their children's relationships. In other words, if you go off and go have good relationships with other kids or your aunt or your cousins, then I feel jealous, and then there's a fear of abandonment. I may withdraw from you to get you back in line. And so I'm pulling you by a fear of abandonment to not make those connections and soothe that loneliness. And so we end up being reluctant to express our feelings and to seek connections. I don't know how many adults, including myself, I remember doing a whole workshop on friendship for singles, just doing friendship. And I realized how much I didn't know about relationships. And just having friendships, not even a partner, not even a wife or a spouse, a lot of information out there like on that. But how do you be a friend? How do you do that? I didn't know.
I don't know. How do you do
began
that?
to learn more about that.
How do you
So I
even
can
do that?
seek connection.
You have to do
with other
something?
people. But it was very painful, and the loneliness is very painful.
What's step 1?
7, isolation from supportive relationships. If you're in a narcissistic family, have narcissistic parents, then they're going to want to keep you close to the nest. Don't be getting into a relationship. In other words, narcissistic parents do not like to share influence.
I don't know about all that.
So,
I mean, for me,
they don't want you to form those relationships with maybe healthier extended family members.
I never experienced that.
Neighbors or friends, schoolmates. And they will even, kind of threaten, not even necessarily in words, but you'll notice they'll start to withdraw from you if you do that. They'll often discourage, well, they're not our family. They don't understand us. They're bad people, when really they're not bad people. But to the narcissist, they're bad people because they would expose the narcissist. So then they're bad. I've even known of people where when the kids started they were going to a church, when the kids started getting close to other kids and the pastor, and it was such a positive influence, the family left because the narcissistic parents could not deal with that. They needed to keep their children isolated, and this wasn't an isolated type of church.
Deep slate.
And they would just go because they can't have that.
Hold on a second with this Minecraft moment. So you get the deep slate. When you break it, it turns into cobbled, right? I didn't think of this. Let's see, cobbled deep slate, and then we got deep slate. Some silk touch. Yeah, gives you deep slate. Okay. Well, little goofy with this texture pack here, but oh, they're very different in this. Wow, very cool. Yeah, man. So, what do you build with deep slate then? I didn't even mess around with that yet. I have to focus on each individual new item and block one at a time and get to know them all still. I have to figure out, this is obviously my little storage room. Figure out some kind of design. It's gonna be something like this. I gotta play around with the deep slate. I gotta see what it looks like in vanilla texture. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Man, this screen is getting worse. Alright, I'll put back on the dude here in a minute. I'm just like playing the game, dude. Yeah, we're gonna do something like that, and then I'll have a label right here. Maybe a label, item frame, and then yeah, I like to write it down in a sign too, just visually and to see it. It's just quicker to process it in your brain. Saves time. You only have a certain amount of seconds to be alive. Make it count. Maximize efficiency. Spawn rate of your brain hole. What did I put in here? I'm just going to throw this in here. I hate when there's just a brain hole in the wall. I hate that brain hole. Alright, let me put on this homie again. Let's see what happens.
8. Internalization of narcissistic traits. Children raised in narcissistic families might internalize some of the narcissistic behaviors and attitudes that they witness because it's just so modeled in that way. This can lead to difficulties in forming genuine, fulfilling relationships, as these traits can hinder, emotional intimacy. Let's say they're a child of a narcissist, but they're an adult, they're in a relationship, but because of what they saw and believed and were taught, they're going, I'm the head of the house, I'm the man, and you need to be submissive to me because that's what the Bible says. Does that hurt intimacy? And again, we can talk about the whole theology of that whole, and I'm not really here to talk about all the verses and I'm just saying how the Bible is used.
I don't know. I don't know about all that, homie. But this, the hoppers are covered up, so they're not going to create lag, right? I don't know, man. I'll just save them. I'll just do this. I don't need to use all that. It doesn't have to be fast. There probably will come a time where I'm like, damn it, I wish I kept all the hoppers. I'm just gonna, that's fine. I'm gonna collect a bunch of deep slate. Then put it back in the, oh, that looks awesome. Is that gravel? I'm going to put it back in the vanilla texture, and we could mess around with deep slate and all the stuff. So is that what that is? Let's see. Man, shit is all full again. No, I didn't want to put that in there. It's a pain in the ass. I just don't want the game to freeze. Fucking game wants to freeze every time you open up a chest. Cobbled deep slate, and then I'll have I guess I could make a chest of just deep slate. I don't know. It's not going to be that common here. I like to put my blocks in the beginning, because all this shit is going to be bones and arrows and armor and fucking bows. Yeah, bones and bows and arrows and shit. All this stuff. It's gonna crash probably. Okay. Like that shit. All this shit. Got a lot of chainmail. I like it when it was more rare, to be honest. It's really cool to have a shit ton of fucking chainmail, like, real easily. It's almost well, it is. It's like on demand now. Kind of ruined it, Mojang. It's everywhere. You can always get chainmail now. No problem. It used to be super rare. Way more rare. Whatever. Good job, Mojang. You professional ruiner of everything. Telling you, dude. Changed my mind. So, what's this guy talking about, dude?
The Bible can be quoted by anybody, and I believe from my pastoral training, even from Satan, even by Satan himself. So the Bible can be quoted for any number of things.
Yeah.
But we're in that narcissistic learned behavior, then they use that as kind of but it's about me. So you need to be submissive, wife, because I'm the head of the house. That's kind of a narcissistic kind of use of the Bible. Because they saw that growing up. Whereas after they have more recovery, then that's not as much of an issue for them. Number 9, narcissists demand the spotlight from children.
Oh,
what does
children?
that do? When the narcissist demands to be in the spotlight from their children, then the children don't learn to self-soothe. And if you don't know how to self-soothe, guess what's going to happen? You're going to feel a lot of loneliness if you cannot self-soothe.
Soothe.
Narcissistic parents or families don't teach kids how to self-soothe.
How do you soothe
That's
yourself?
just not a part of the package.
What is he talking
And
about?
if you don't learn how to self-soothe,
Soothe.
and I think this is where a lot of times,
What do you do?
couples who are raising
I don't know how to do that.
even like toddlers.
I don't think I learned how to do that because I don't even fucking know what that means. What do? You pat yourself on the back. There, buddy. Oh, this is very soothing. I don't understand. You pour water on your head? Like, what is
Well,
that?
we even do it for infants. There are times
You fucking rub aloe all over your ass?
healthily,
What do you
we
do?
may let them cry a little bit
Cry?
so they can learn some self-soothing.
Punch you
So
in
I'm not
throat?
jumping in there and being a helicopter parent.
Helicopter.
The same is true for a toddler.
Yeah.
Sometimes toddlers need to just be upset
Sometimes
until they can decide to soothe themselves
until they become a helicopter.
and go, oh, well, I'm now no longer upset. Mom and Dad have left me with this sitter.
Mom and Dad are
I see this
helicopters.
truck I'm going to go play with. That's self-soothing. And we must learn that
What is it?
as we grow up.
What is it? Bruh.
Need to just be upset
Uh-huh.
until they can decide to soothe themselves.
How?
And go, oh, well, I'm now no longer upset. Mom and Dad have left me with this sitter.
What?
I see this truck I'm going to go play with.
I see a truck?
That's
What?
self-soothing.
Self-soothing? See a truck? And then you're gonna go play with the truck. So I just have to go get me like a Tonka truck and have it laying around. And then when I have to self-soothe myself, fucking look at the truck. Look at that truck. It's pretty soothing, bro. Gonna play with it. Okay. I think he's onto something here.
And we must learn that as we grow up.
Yes, we must learn how to see trucks and play with them as we grow up.
Because it's going to make us healthier when we get older.
Absolutely. I've seen trucks and played with them so many times. I'm pretty healthy.
And again, I'm not saying don't nurture kids, don't take care of kids. I'm not saying that at all.
Just let them be
But I'm saying
helicopters.
be careful about the swing of the
Helicopter.
pendulum and being a parent who
Helicopter.
never lets their child cry,
Yeah.
ever, about anything.
Yeah.
A parent who always is extremely soothing.
Anti-gravity parents.
If you're extremely anything, it's probably problematic.
Yeah.
Because life is about balance.
Yeah.
That's what true life and human existence is about.
Helicopters can balance in the air.
Just like in how the body functions. If the body function...
Helicopters have balancing mechanisms.
Functioning, the labs, I've just had some medical things, that labs and things.
Medical helicopter.
If they're extreme, then we got some problems. Too low, too high. We want it in the normal range.
Yeah.
And that's what we want in our relationships.